Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back into another edition of Key Time Sports. It's Key Time coming back to give you my Game 3 preview of the 2025 NBA Finals between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. Now, first, I'm going to talk about what transpired in games 1 and 2 and give you all a preview of what's going to transpire tonight. So, Game one, we already know what transpired in game one. Oklahoma had the lead for 98% of the game, but in the last few seconds, the Indiana Pacers took the last shot and they won the game, and that was their first lead. Their first lead was the final score. Now, fast forward to game two. Game two was pretty much, the Thunder, it was a complete domination from the Oklahoma City Thunder. The largest lead of that game was 23, and the Pacers' largest lead, even though it came early in the first quarter, it was 3. Now, we are at game 3. Game 3 tips off tonight at 8:30 on ABC, YouTube TV. If you have those, you already know the entirety of the schedule. Now, let me get to matchups for game 3 and a switch in the starting lineups possibly. I don't think Rick Carlisle he is going to start a different lineup. I think that he is going to keep his same lineup. Oklahoma City, when you look at their roster, and I have their roster up here, we already know who is the leading force for the OKC Thunder, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and he is averaging 34 points in this series already. 34 in the well 30 excuse me 36 in game 1 and 34 in game 2. For the Pacers, SGA is a matchup problem. And we already know that whatever matchup the Pacers have for SGA, it's not going to work out because SGA has already said he doesn't care about efficiency. He is going to get his shots up. So now you look at the Pacers defenders, sometimes they have to put single or maybe even double team him because sometimes having one guy on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander for 48 minutes, it's not going to work out. It's not. And the X factors for the OKC Thunder, they had a good game in game 2, didn't have a very good game in game 1. Those X factors I'm talking about is Alex Caruso, Lugaz Dort, Ozami Dean, Chet Holmgren, Dylan Jones, AJ Mitchell, Cason Wallace, and Aaron Wiggins. Now, Aaron Wiggins, he made 6 threes in game 2. Tonight, since the Thunder are on the road, I expect for the Thunder X Factors not to have the type of game that they had in game 2. Make no mistake about it. This game 3 is going to be close tonight because they are in Indiana. And I can already tell you that Indiana, when they get in that crowd noise is something because when they go on those runs, those 10, 12 point runs, 10 to 2 runs, or 12 to 2 runs, the Pacers crowd gets louder and louder. And what the OKC Thunder can do is kind of neutralize the Pacers' best players. They need to do that and take the crowd out of the game. So throughout this playoff cycle, when it comes to game 3 for the Oklahoma City Thunder against Memphis, they had a big deficit they faced, but they came back and won game 3. Against Denver, they had a big deficit and lost game 3. They were down in that series versus the Nuggets. And against Minnesota, They got blown out in game 3 in Minnesota of the previous series. So historically, when it comes to game 3 on the roads, the OKC Thunder, they are not they are not well equipped. That's why I say tonight, we all know that tonight, game 3 is critical. And I'm going to give you all statistics right now. The winner of game 3 in an NBA Finals series goes on to win that series 82% of the time. So whoever wins this game obviously is in the driver's seat. And whoever loses this game, they got to fight tooth and nail Friday night to get this series back to an even series. So another X factor that I have for the Thunder is Jalen Williams, the first Jalen Williams. He has had he has had good games throughout the playoffs here and there. He's put up 12 to 15 points. Now, one thing about this is on the road, he hasn't really touched the ball on the road. But tonight and in game 4, OKC, they are going to have to pull out all the stops because another thing that has happened is the Pacers, they've only lost one playoff game at home. Only one. And that was against the New York Knicks in the previous series. So OKC, they can probably take something out of the New York Knicks playbook and see if they can use that and see if they have success tonight. And Mark Danigault, I got to give him credit for the bounce back game that the Thunder had in game 2, because game 1, even Chet Holmgren said that he didn't take initiative to pretty much put his stamp on the game. He put his stamp on the game in game 2. And also, he is going to have to put his stamp on the game tonight because the Pacers, they are going to try and neutralize Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and try and neutralize those X factors. Now, Chet Holmgren, he is an X factor too. He is. And also, Jalen Williams, they are a part of their big 3 in OKC. Now, can OKC still maintain momentum in this series with a win tonight? It remains to be seen, and we will see that. Now, let me get on over to the Indiana Pacers as far as their team concerned. Now, the Pacers, we already know who they are led by. They are led by Tyrese Halliburton. So Tyrese Halliburton, it seems like it's just a one-man show, basically, for the Pacers. At times it feels like that, but we all know that it's not like that. We all know that it's not like that because Miles Turner, he is going to have to step up. And I'm going to tell you, bench players at home, they step up at home. They do. So now you have the X factors. Miles Turner, you have Johnny Furphy, T.J. McConnell, Aaron Naismith, and Pascal Siakam. All of those guys, they have the chance to pretty much take over the game tonight. And Tyrese Halliburton, he can take over the game tonight too. He can, because game 1 didn't have a good game. Game 2, he had a quiet 14 points in game 2. And he had a quiet 14 points in game 1. But those last 2 points was the type of game, wasn't the type of game that he wanted, but the Pacers ended up winning. So now, the Pacers in this case, they are a team that they've been the underdogs throughout the entirety of this season. And they started off the season, halfway point, pretty much under 500. And now, since their playoff cycle, every series they started up 2-0. This series is 1-1. Now, OKC, they are a good road team. They are. And the Pacers are a good home team. So now I go back to what I've been saying over the past two games since the series started. OKC has a good defense. The Pacers have a good offense. Now something has got to give. Something has got to give tonight. And also something is going to give Friday night. Potentially, one of these teams can have a 3-1 lead by the time Sunday gets here. And we all know Sunday is game 5. By the time that gets here, we should know who is well on their way of getting a championship. Now, one other thing I want to touch as far as future outlook for the NBA. And not just that, as far as branding the NBA finals. That has been a topic of discussion over the past 72 hours. The NBA, they need to do better as far as with marketing and branding the finals, because game 1, when we looked at the floor, we didn't see nothing, and I do mean nothing that said NBA finals. We didn't see any Larry O'Brien trophies. And me, I can say that I grew up in a time back in the early 2000s where when the NBA finals would start, you would see the whole court decked out in Larry O'Brien trophies. You would have the NBA finals logo. But one thing that I can say, back in 2014, they pretty much did away with, finals logos being on the floor, the Larry O'Brien trophy being on the floor, because they didn't want the players to slip. But you have a significant drop off in the ratings between game 1 and game 2. Now, game 1, you only have one time to make a first impression. Game 1, that was not a good impression for the NBA and the build up to the NBA finals. If I'm on the NBA social media marketing team, what I would request for the NBA finals logo to be on both teams' home floor, and for the Larry O'Brien trophy to be centered in the middle of the NBA court. And I don't want any of these, these little trophies that the digital team for the NBA did, pretty much placing them, and pretty much what the digital team did in game 2, it was pretty much, they were just lazy. Because when you would see the highlights, you wouldn't see those finals trophies on the floor. And they were little finals trophies, so they were barely noticeable. Now, one thing that I want to say is future outlook for the NBA. One thing that the NBA can do is help out themselves when it comes to branding the NBA finals more. And the topic that I've heard about small market teams, we just gonna do away with that, because every NBA team, they have social media, and whether it's TikTok or any social media platform, you will know what NBA team is which. You will. So one thing that the NBA can do is market better, and also the All-Star game. That it seems like every year at this point, we always have to talk about the All-Star game and rebranding it to this and rebranding it to that. The players, they don't want to play in a meaningless All-Star game. That's why you have a lot of times where outside of three-point shooting, I'm pretty much done away with the All-Star game. That's what over the last 10 years, that's what the NBA has been doing when it comes to the All-Star game. They've tried to make it to where it's a target score that a team has to get to in order for it to be over with. That didn't work. And then you had one year where both teams scored over they scored over 150 points. One team they scored 211, another one scored 186. The All-Star game is pretty much, I think, past its time. I think so. It's past its time, and the NBA, what Adam Silver needs to do is he needs to come up with a better idea. Now, the in-season tournament, the branding for the in-season tournament, top of the charts. But we need that top of the chart branding when it comes to the NBA finals. We do. We need that. So my final take that I want to do before I go on over to Instagram is tonight's point spread. Now the point spread tonight is OKC at 5.5 points. Las Vegas, they know what they are doing because even though this is game three and the Pacers they should be favored, they see where the Thunder is a good team on the road. But I would not be surprised if the Pacers somehow, some way win game three tonight. Pacers, they either gonna win game three or four. I see this series going to a seventh game. I do. I said that after game two, that this series is going to a seventh game. But the X factors for both teams have to step up in the games that they are needed. Now, if I'm OKC Thunder, I'm trying to get greedy. I'm trying to get game three tonight. First order of business is game three. And then Friday night, if I'm OKC, I'm trying to get game four Friday night. That's what I would be. So that's what I would be thinking about. So even though Vegas has the OKC Thunder favored, if I'm the head coach of the OKC Thunder, I'm saying, guys, this series is tied 1-1. Anybody can win it. It's anybody's series now. Let's go out here and show the Pacers and show the world that we not messing around when it comes to being a good road team. And throughout the season, OKC has been the best road team. The Pacers have been the second best home team since January 9th. The Pacers have been the second best home team. The first is the Thunder. So this is basically mano y mano. This is pretty much two Goliaths going fighting each other. That's what this is. Two Goliaths fighting each other. And right now at 10:18 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday, June 11th, currently right now, the OKC Thunder are 5.5 point favorites. That's for all my betting men and women out there. Place your bets accordingly because before this game starts tonight, the point spread is going to drop. So I'm not saying place your bets right now, but I would say wait throughout the day and pretty much, around about maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock, go on ahead and make your bets. And with that, that is my preview for the 2025 NBA Finals Game 3 between the OKC Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Click the notification bell to get notified of all of my reaction videos, shows, and other content. We are also doing an expansion right here on YouTube. By the end of this year, we are expecting over 20,000 subscribers. I know that for most people that might sound a little bit outlandish, but I know that we can do it. So please Like, comment, share, subscribe. Key Time Sports on YouTube. Also, go and follow my other show, Key City Sports, on Instagram. And remember, everybody, one last thing. Remember, the key is always on time.